I threw out through a box that I believe that every woman has a fairy tale. Mine is Cinderella. Which one is yours? The one that you watched, the one that speaks to your heart.
You know, I would have to really think about my favorite one. The one that keeps coming to my head is Rapunzel, but I don't know why.
Really? Rapunzel? The one with the long hair?
Yeah,
and
the one that was locked in the tower.
Yeah, the one locked in the tower. Interesting. Yeah. The one who had the spin. Didn't she have somebody that was making her work?
I don't know. I don't remember the story. I don't know why it was the first one that popped in my head. It's not like it's my favorite.
Is Rapunzel your favorite? Which one do you love? That's the one I want.
I don't know. I would have to really think about.
That's your homework. That's your homework. Because if you can tell me the fairy tale that you love, we can flip it metaphysically. Well, maybe it's not a fairy tale for you. Maybe it's King Arthur and Lancelot.
Maybe.
Because you spend a lot of time in Lancelot world. And Guinevere.
I spent a lot of time in Guinevere.
So perhaps the real question that we're asking, instead of a fairy tale, because I lean toward fairy tales, is which story turns you on? Which one do you have a crush on?
Well, every time there's some new movie about Camelot or First Night or whatever it is, I always watch it. But I think it's more for me. I think the link to me is Guinevere to the Isle of Avalon. Avalon is I feel it inside me.
Even your energy switch when you said that. Okay.
Yeah. I felt it too. I felt it in my heart center.
Boom. There's your story.
I know it's my home. And I know that there's so much wisdom that I'm supposed to know. I know there's so much wisdom that I'm opening up to.
So how can you use the characteristics of Guinevere to move yourself forward in terms of the abundance that we're all seeking? What's your role? What's your part right now to unblock your love, your relationship, your abundance through your story?
Well, the two things that come out for me was fear and betrayal.
And all betrayal.
Because she never wanted to marry King Arthur.
Right.
She did it for her country, to protect her country.
So was she living in integrity?
She was living in
fear
of lack. She didn't feel she was enough to keep her country safe. So she married King Arthur for the protection of Camelot.
Which led to the downfall of Camelot.
Yes.
So if you were Guinevere and you were going to walk in your power, how would you do it? Which choices would you make?
Well, I've made those same choices now that you bring that to my attention.
Record it so that you can remember it, and I can too.
Well, those same choices and choices of relationships.
Which are?
I married the first time because I never thought I was pretty. And he was the first person, the first male who ever paid attention to me. He was 3 months, October, November, December, about 2.5 months before we got married, he was arrested with his best friend in the mountains for contributing to the delinquency of a minor. They had two 16-year-old girls. He was 19, his friend was 21, and they had drugs and they had alcohol. And they married him anyway. I married him because what would the family think? The invitations were already out, Mother. I couldn't embarrass the family. We were already receiving gifts. But I also married him because what if nobody else ever loved me? What if nobody else ever wanted to marry me? I got married. I was 19.
19.
I was 19. Well, I
You
just barely
told me
turned
that
20.
story.
I was just barely, I turned 20 in October and we got married in January.
So there was you living out your Guinevere for the country.
I got married the second time for the same reason. Although it wasn't a big wedding, we didn't have like all these announcements and everything that went out. If you paid all that attention to me, he was my Lancelot. I called him that. He was my knight. We had that picture. Picture with Guinevere and Lancelot, where she's knighting him. Got that for my birthday one year. But right before we got married, she was my maid of honor, matron of honor. And in this little teeny tiny little office inside one of the hotels, and we used to lock the door and put the phones on hold, the old dial phones, remember those? And we would leave and go shopping. So we went shopping one day, and I guess him and her boyfriend came to our office when we were gone, and he automatically assumed that we were out having one last fling. I was out having a fling because we did, so George Air Force Base was open, so we had a lot of military boys that came through our office. We were friends with a lot of them, and before Warren and I started dating, we played with them too, and so he was very jealous and insecure, and he got into a big fight with me and said that I was cheating and that he didn't know if he wanted to marry me. So I spent that whole night, I had to stay with her, everybody separated us because we lived together, and I didn't know if he was going to show up the next day or not. And then I almost didn't want to get married to him, but I did anyway because everybody was already there when he showed up.
Wow, sister. Do you see the Guinevere Trail?
I hadn't until right now.
So how do you give Guinevere her power back? How do you break open the love now?
I think Guinevere and I need to go to the island. The island has a message for me. I think that's why I'm so drawn to go to Glastonbury. There's something there for me.
What if I told you you already had it within you? And
I
when you connect with that, all of our dreams will come true.
I would tell you I heard Walt Disney in my head.
What did he say? No, don't apologize.
The magical song that he used to sing all the time before all of his shows.
Can you remember it? Because I can't.
I don't remember the last part that you just said, where all your dreams come true.
Because we're not going to get to Glastonbury, I'm saying it right, until you feel it within you. It's not waiting for you. It's waiting for you to open up to it. I had no idea about this Guinevere Trail in you.
I didn't either. I mean, I've always been drawn to the Lancelot energy, and we talked about that the other night.
Well, because Lancelot's yummy.
Yes, but Lancelot also resembled adventure, isn't it? Because we recorded right now.
We can't go on the adventure until, I know, right? But we can't go on the adventure until you and I know what my story is with Cinderella.
Ask me that question again.
Okay, see, this is what I'm trying to get you to connect with. And actually, I'm feeling resistance. And the resistance that I'm feeling is, I told you this. I never liked Guinevere. You made me love her. She's always been somebody who betrayed King Arthur for me. And I didn't like that chick. And you know that about me.
Mm-hmm.
Until you came into my life. And so I have far more compassion for her. Because the reality is, in your personal life and in the story that you've taken in with the true love between Guinevere and Lancelot, I think there's magic there for you in terms of waking up to letting go of King Arthur. How do you let go of the obligations? Because it seemed like you said yes to obligation because people were there. And I'm trying to get you to go off of Lancelot.
Okay, but
Please.
if you look at the energy of, okay, all right. Let's just get raw, okay? All right. If you look at the energy between Lancelot and Guinevere, it's always that raw, primal energy, not a lustful energy, but it's that rawness, that warrior, that raw, pure energy. That's sexual. I'm Scorpio. My energy center is my sacral chakra. That's where Lilith sits with me. You kept asking me that question about what is it at Avalon that is sits within me, and all I kept hearing